typical work day in the United States for me right now is going to work and getting this patient's load and trying to like meet up with the demands of the documentation here that is really extensive. I mean, I've not seen any other kind of documentation in nursing that is like the one that I'm experiencing here in the US. Their documentation process is like, I don't know how to explain it. So if you're in the US and you're working as a nurse, I know you get what I'm saying. Their documentation process is extensive, and then what you're expected to do for the patients as well, there are so many. So sometimes combining those extensive documentation process and the care of the patient, it can be challenging, especially if you're new in this kind of environment. So that is one big huge stress for me. So sometimes I'll be like, if you really have very ill patients, and then you also have at the back of your mind that you have this extensive documentation that you have not even started, you know, it makes the whole job overwhelming. But over time, I'm getting used to it. I'm devising means, getting better with my time management, and it's helping me to stay on top of the documentation. And one thing that also posed a big stress for me in the documentation is one day that after working, I went home and then I got this call, oh, you didn't do this documentation for this new patient that you admitted. And you know, that kind of call, I never get it in the UK or anywhere. So it's actually added to my stress. And then the person even on the phone was quoting for me the policy is that you have to do this documentation within a day. Make sure that when you come back, you have to finish the documentation. And then it puts me in this roller coaster of like what I did, and okay, how come I did not document this? How come I did not document assessment? It's like, why will I do assessment without document? And then I had to remember, oh, I documented it in this particular one and not the one for admission. I had to text the person and be like, can you check this, because I can't imagine assessing and I don't document. Maybe I documented it in the other one instead of the admission one. And she said, yes, you did do it, but the assessment one has to be done. And in my mind that day, I was like, so if I had done this at least, and they know that I'm coming back to work that same day, they should have just maybe told the nurse that when I come back, they should tell me to transfer it, okay? So I was like, my goodness, this US is no joke. And it was just my very few weeks of, you know, starting on my own after the preceptorship, okay? So I really found it very strange. I was like, my goodness, you really have to, even no matter the kind of shit that you go through, they still expect this level of, even if you make a little mistake, they are quoting the policy for you, they are telling you, calling you at home. You know, I was really... The second one is the bullying aspect. So a lot of people are beginning to talk about the toxicity in nursing. Nursing is toxic, nurses are being bullied. But the truth is that as a new nurse, I have been a new nurse. I can consider myself being like a very new nurse 3 times. Like when I graduated in Nigeria, when I moved to the UK, and now when I moved to the United States. So in these 3 instances, I've experienced bullying in nursing. Bullying that when I go home, I'll be wondering why I even studied this nursing in the first place. So nurses have a way of, especially the people that feel that they are experienced in nursing, they have a way of putting themselves up here when they meet somebody that they feel they are better than, the way they talk to you sometimes, the way they make it look like you don't know anything, and all of that. So it is everywhere. And seeing it and experiencing it in the United States, I'm going to make a different video to really talk about my experience. I believe it will encourage a lot of people, especially if you're an international nurse. So there is bullying here as well. You're going to meet people that will really make you feel that you don't know anything. People that will be scrutinizing you. People that will be following you around to know whether you made mistakes. And then the small talk as well. So someone will be precepting you, and the sentence I usually hear from them a lot, even people have even had the boldness to ask me the same question, is, how is she? I've seen people like, they'll say this new nurse that's is there, they'll mention the person's name and ask you, what do you think? How is she? And then I'll be like, she's still new, and then, but she's not a new nurse, she works in another unit, and then she's here now, she's no longer a new nurse, but they will start to say something, you know. And then I also noticed that they say that about other new nurses as well. So someone will be presenting you and they are already putting this face, so I'm good, if you need anything, just ask me any question, you know, and all of that. If you ask questions a lot. They will go and talk among them, say, oh, she's asking this, doesn't she know this, or she's this. And the worst thing about this, I would say the worst thing about the small talk is that sometimes they also say it in front of new people as well, making them scared to ask questions. So in my own opinion, when I've talked about I talk with other new international nurses especially, I'll be like, safety in all my years as a nurse, almost 10 years now, safety is something that I feel is always paramount. You are dealing with people's lives, people's husbands, wives, children. So safety should always be the first thing for you before you talk about independence and what people say. So if you don't want to act like you are an independent nurse when you are only 99% sure of what you want to do, if you are 99% sure of giving a medication but there's something in you telling you, are you sure this is what you should do, my top recommendation will always be to ask someone. 99% for me when we are talking about people's lives is not enough. If there's something you can do to make that your confidence level to be up to 100%, go ahead and do that. Ask questions, ask a lot of questions, because you want to go home and you sleep and you know that you have done something. And when you're giving something or providing care, you know you are giving the best care. So even if it is a little doubt you have about the medication, about the care, about anything, just ask and forget about the small talks. Because in all my years as a nurse, I know that all those things will stop at some point when you have gained all this confidence and all of that, and it's going to help you not to make mistakes and stay out of trouble. So the small talks, they have it here in the US, and it's really really disappointing, because sometimes you see they are elderly nurses, they are preceptors, and they are engaging in small talks. I told one of my colleagues that we moved from the UK to the US that, do you know that they engage in small talk? And she was like, she experienced the same thing where she is. So guys, anywhere you are, all these things comes across everywhere. Even in the UK, I still experience some things from patient relatives, from other nurses that are also negative. So it's not like it's only in the US that you experience some of these negative things. Nursing as it is, we need a better environment to grow new graduates, new employees or new nurses, so that people will not leave the profession. It will be a better profession for everyone. So if you are an international nurse and at some point you know you have gained your ground, if you see another international nurse, make it a point of duty to like encourage them, pat them at the back, do not small talk them. Instead of small talking, you go to them and tell them these are the things that you should do to improve. These are the expectations as nurses. If you are a preceptor, going to say things behind the person doesn't make any sense, because as a preceptor you have things that you have to check off for the person. So if you feel the person is not confident in an area, part of your job as a preceptor is to tell the person, encourage the person, help the person out, because that's what you should do in the first place. Not giving somebody 5 out of 5 and then you go behind and say, oh, she's asking this question, or she should know this already, and all of that. Now, the positive aspects, I will not say that since I came, there are no positive things about nursing in the United States. So I believe that nursing in the US will actually bring out the whole of you, everything that you studied in nursing school. I see that most of those things you studied in nursing school, using your stethoscope, the complete assessments and everything, they use it more here in the US. So comparing the UK and Nigeria and here is where you use all your nursing judgments. They allow you to really put into effect all those things that you have learned. And even when you are involving the doctor, they are also listening for your own views, because they know you spend more time with that patient. So they are also listening to your own suggestion of the drug that will help the patient. They are also listening to the kind of tests that you feel should be recommended for the patient, which is really cool, because in some countries they won't even ask you, and even when you say it, it's not like something that they will consider. So, and it discourages many nurses from participating actively in promoting certain things for the patient and advocating for the patient, if I would say. So, but here in the US, I believe that within this period I've seen that there is respect for what you as a nurse has to offer, which is really cool, and it helps you to get involved in the patient diagnosis, learn about that patient diagnosis, learn about the various medication. Again, I'll also talk about the patient mix the kind of patient that you also meet here, the kind of people that are well educated in the kind of medication that they take, the kind of procedures that even sometimes you'll be like asking the patient, what did they do there? What did the doctor tell you? You know, all those things. And they tend to know all their medication and everything. So that way, they also, it's knowing that they have this kind of patient that know everything about most things about what they are going through, and they expect you to also explain. It helps you to, you know, develop yourself the more, learn about patients' conditions and how you can improve their stay in the hospital. Another one I'll talk about is their customer care. They pay attention to how they speak to patients, the kind of care that they provide. So they promote this kind of customer care kind of service, that if you see how a nurse is relating to a patient, you also want to do the same. So which is really cool. And another thing I would say about generally the lifestyle in the US for these 6 months, I would say that, you know, adjusting in the US is a lot easier. It has been a lot easier for me when I compare to that my experience in the UK. So I stayed for almost 4 years in the UK, and each time I want to get accommodation, it's usually very hard. Sometimes they will tell you are not qualified. I was working in London and in central London, and even to get accommodation an hour from even my workplace, sometimes most times they will say they're not qualified. Even the last place I lived, I had to prove that I have certain amount of money in my savings account before they allowed us to live there. So it's just such a hassle to get accommodation. And again, if you want to do anything that requires money, like want to school or something like that, it is very hard to save up to do something big. And I've already stayed almost 4 years as a nurse, and here in the US, even the first accommodation we stayed here, we found online. In just less than 6 months, we were able to get our own house. So these are some things that people celebrate in the UK. They get it like years after and all of that. So, but in the US, we find it that it's a lot easier. And again, the welcoming nature, even though we say that they welcome you and then they will talk about you, but let's say it's the culture where we live, right? So they are very welcoming here. You're not going to feel like, you know, people are looking at you but they won't say anything to you. It's not seen here. So overall, I would say that in this 6 months, I have achieved a lot. So many things that I wanted to achieve in my 4 years, almost 4 years in the UK. Within these 6 months, it's as if like I have like a clear view of what I want to do. Started schooling, get a good accommodation for family, and all of that. So guys, it's been good. It's been a roller coaster. I'll be sharing details of if there are specific things you want to learn about working in the United States. Let me know in the comment section. I'll also talk about in details what I have achieved so far in 6 months. Maybe it will also help you with your decision. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this has inspired you, giving you like a brief overview of what it looks like working in the United States. And please like this video, share with your nursing communities, and let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.